If you shoot APS-C, then you know the voice. You open YouTube and everyone's on full frame. And that whispers that the reason your photos aren't good enough is the sensor. I've had that voice in my head for years and years, and a few days ago I almost obeyed it. I nearly sold my Sony a6700, the camera I'm shooting this video with, to buy a full frame that actually I didn't even know if I could afford. And before you let that voice win, here's the uncomfortable thing that I found when I finally asked, where is this coming from? So the decision is, should I move from my APS-C camera over to a full frame camera? Well, it depends. And to be completely honest, what happened to me was that I'm actually super happy with the results of my Sony a6700 and have been since the day I got it. In fact, I was happy with the results of the a6500 that I had before this, so on and so forth. But ever since I got my first camera, which was a Canon T2i, like about 14 years ago or something like that, every time I needed to move to a new camera, I always thought, should I move to full frame, yes or no? The reasons changed over time, but I've always leaned towards APS-C. The size, the availability of lenses, the price of lenses, but lately those thoughts started coming back again, especially when I got my Fujifilm X106, mainly because I thought to myself, I have two APS-C cameras, especially now the Fujifilm X106, which has a sensor of 40 something megapixels. That made me think, okay, do I need to keep on having my a6700, or would it be better for me to cover more range to have an APS-C and a full frame? Well, I've been asking this to myself, and I run some numbers and I run some logic behind it, and I really hope that I can help you with that if you're on the same boat as me. By the way, my name is Cesar, I'm a photographer, a content creator, a product manager at a tech company, and I'm also an introvert, which makes me approach photography a bit differently. Instead of treating it like a full-time job, I actually try to build systems around it so that it fits your job and your real life. So now let's talk about the reasons of why you would move to a full-frame camera. One of the reasons that everybody talks about on many videos online is their low light capabilities. And yeah, of course, they are better at low light, but how much better? In my case, let's say it's around one stop. They can handle low light better than an APS-C camera. But there are a lot of ifs around it, because if you have a fast enough lens, then that becomes a little bit less of an issue and actually mitigated more than you would think. And the second point is something that actually made me realize, or made me open my eyes, let's say. And that is, when do you need the low light capabilities, right? Because sometimes, and most of the times, I'm shooting here. So at least video. I'm shooting here with light in front of me. It's kind of a control scenario that I haven't had any trouble with. And when I'm out on the streets, I normally shoot during the day. And if I need to shoot during the night, this camera specifically, even with a high ISO, has performed quite well, even at 20,000 ISO. So if I was critical about the situation, and if you are too, if you have an APS-C camera with a similar setup that I have, then you're probably not feeling the pain of low light as much as you think you are. Maybe it's more about projection and thinking, I may feel that pain, and in order to not feel it, then I need a full frame camera to not have that pain. And by the way, the lens that I use and pretty much never leaves my camera is the Sigma 17 to 40 millimeter f1.8, which I made a video about, you can check over here, and I think it's a beast of a lens. Maybe it could have a little bit more range, but that's also over asking. I think it's quite good, and if you get it, it's never gonna leave your camera. So if low light capabilities are your pain point, or you think this is your pain point, then think about it. When has your current APS-C camera failed you in low light? And the point that I'm going to talk about now, it's actually when it gets interesting, because it's all about where that itch comes from. And the fact that you have that itch, the itch to get a full frame camera, is not necessarily wrong. It's basically that you're human. What I mean with this is that this can be pretty much summarized in FOMO. You go on YouTube, everyone has a full frame camera, or everyone pushes you to get a full frame camera. And that starts making you think not about what you currently have, but the gap between what you have and what a full frame camera brings, and without even thinking if you even need that gap to be closed. And the thing is that it doesn't end there. You are not gonna be getting a full frame camera and then think like, okay, this is it, let's just go out and shoot. Because in fact, you may not even be shooting with your current camera. And the reason you're not shooting is not the fact that you don't have a more sophisticated camera, but you're just finding excuses to not do it. But here's the part that should stop you, because this was the part that actually stopped me. Because one thing I thought to myself is, probably when I get a full frame camera, like, I don't know, let's let's say the Sony a7 IV, then I will start looking at the next level of full frame cameras that I can get. I don't know, an A7R, whatever that the latest one is at this moment. And that will be a never-ending cycle unless I end up getting a cinema camera with cinema lenses, because yes, the lenses will be yet another thing and another world that you have to dive into in terms of moving from APS-C to full frame. So it never ends. That's something that I need to tell to myself every single time that I'm thinking, should I move from here to there, yes or no? And there is one thing a full frame camera cannot do for someone that's introverted or trying to do street photography, and that is being stealthy. The camera that you want the most out on the street to do street photography, it's something small and capable. In fact, I did a video about the types of cameras that are the best for street photography, which you can check over here. And let's say that the full frame wasn't the best one at this. There are different ways of approaching it, and in my case, even sometimes the Fujifilm X106 can end up being a bit too big, because I came from shooting with a Ricoh GR, which is smaller than this for sure, and a little bit less out there, let's say. And for that, by the way, I created a cheat sheet for the X106 with all the settings that would make you a bit more stealthy on the street. And I'm pretty sure that this cheat sheet can also work for other brands, so you can download it from the link in the description or scanning the QR code over here. It's completely free, so give it a try. Why not? The whole point with this section is that if you're especially doing street photography, a bigger camera like a full frame will not necessarily make your job better, especially if you are a bit introverted or don't want to be too out there on the street. Things that can work in that scenario are point and shoot cameras, but that kind of suck in terms of quality, image quality I mean, but nowadays they're in, so why not? Or if you want to shoot film, you can also get one of these, which is like 30 bucks, and then that's good enough. People will think you're a tourist or something like that. And recently I got a film camera, like, well, this reminds me of something that my dad had a while ago when I was a kid. So yeah, there are different ways for doing street photography, and none of them are a full frame or a big full frame camera. Of course, that doesn't mean that you cannot do it with a big full frame camera. And in fact, if you do it with a full frame camera and you have tips of being more stealthy out on the street, put it in the comments, because I'm really curious and I want to read that. So my one recommendation here would be to name the job that you want the gear to perform for you before you even go and buy it, right? So for example, I want my camera to be shooting in 4K with nice light, which this one perfectly does. Does the A6700 fulfill that? Yeah. Perfect, then the A6700 is good. Or can a full frame camera also do it? Yes, sure. But then you can fall into overpaying for a functionality that you can get from a cheaper camera. The whole point here is being critical about your purchases and why you need them, especially when you don't want to overspend and when you want to keep track of your budget. And if you don't have any camera and are looking for a camera, especially to do street photography, and especially if you don't want to be out there too much, again, I recommend that video that I mentioned before, which is the 5 types of cameras that are the best for doing street photography and keeping it stealthy. So you can have a look over here, and if you're interested in more, you can like and subscribe. And I also have a newsletter where I share information like this, and also what's worked for my workflows and what doesn't work that much. And so if you're interested in that, you can find all the links in the description. So see you in the next one. Is there low light capacity? No, what?